Hi, and welcome to Real Estate with Lou the Shoe. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to sell your home for top dollar without using a real estate agent. Now, I know what you guys are all thinking. Lou, you are a real estate agent. Why would I ever listen to you? But the reason why I kind of wanted to do this is because NAR, or the National Association of Realtors, they put out an article stating that homes being sold with a realtor sold for 20% higher versus homes being sold without a realtor. Now, I don't think that it's because of the fact that realtors market the property any better. I don't think it's the fact that people are, not necessarily caring about what they get for the property. I think it's that people aren't as educated on the matter of selling their home as they should be. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to just kind of put this out there for all those for sale by owners in hopes that they get a little bit more educated. Hopefully they see a little bit of value to this. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and that way I can keep bringing out content like this. Make sure you bring this to people like those for sale by owners, so that way hopefully I can get some more potential clients. In my market up here in Rhode Island, the average housing price is anywhere from $350,000 to $400,000. So what I would like to do is I'm just going to use $300,000 as a price when talking about these commissions, when talking about, all these prices that you're going to have to pay for as a for sale by owner. So from here on out, just know that I'm talking about a $300,000 property. So number one, what you're going to do is you are going to try to find out what exactly you're going to sell the property for. Or in other words, what price do you want to market your property at? So for instance, if you see a lot of the housing prices around your area going for anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000, you're right in the average, you're right in the median at $300,000. If you look at the property right next door, it sold for $300,000, across the street $300,000. And if your property looks very, very similar to that of those properties, you can kind of guess what amount your property is going to sell for. So would it be a bad thing to market it at that particular price? Another great thing to do is you can either get an appraisal. Those can cost right around $500, or you can go on Zillow.com, Truly.com, Redfin, or Realtor.com, and you can search up all of the properties that had sold in the area, and you can kind of get a feel for what the properties had sold versus what your property looks like there. So if your property looks kind of similar to 4 or 5 other properties that sold around $300,000, then your best bet is to market it right around $300,000. And a lot of these properties that were sold already, you can use their pictures to kind of gauge what they look like versus what your property looked like. You just want to make sure that when you're doing that and when you're looking at those properties, that you're not looking at properties that sold 3 or 4 years ago. Make sure that you're at the very least looking at properties that sold within the last 6 months, if not 1 year ago, within the last 12 months. So number one, like I said, figure out the price. The easiest way to do it and the best way to do it is probably going to get that appraiser to come in, take a look at your property, and then give you that appraisal. And then they'll give you an actual report of what's sold in the area, this and that. It's a little bit more professional. If you wanted to be a little bit more sure, I'll bite my tongue on that, then you're going to go ahead and spend the $500 to get the appraisal. Now, number two is going to be do some cleaning and do some touch-ups before that photographer comes in. A lot of the properties that we walk on a day-to-day basis as realtors, they don't do this. They don't declutter the house. They leave all their pots and pans in the sink. They leave Cheez-It wrappers. I'm a big fan of Cheez-Its, so that's kind of the first thing that came to mind. And they put crumbs all over the bed, and it doesn't look appealing to people. It's not what people want to see firsthand when they walk into their potentially new home. So in order to get your property the most value, or as much as you possibly can for the property, you're going to want to make sure that you do some cleanup, do some touch-ups too. So if you see a little bit of paint chipping, on one of the walls, or you see a little bit of paint chipping on the outside of the exterior of the house, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just go over with a paintbrush and just paint a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. Just anywhere that you see paint peeling, paint starting to separate, flaking, whatever, just so that way it looks a little bit more presentable, at least for the pictures. All right, so now it's going to bring us to step 3, which is going to be bring in a professional photographer or videographer and stage the home accordingly. A lot of these home stagers, they cost a lot of money. Sometimes it's upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the home size, depending on what they need to do. Some of those staging companies, they'll do consultations for you to come in. Sometimes it's a couple $100. They can come into the home, tell you what to put where, what to take down. They're probably going to tell you that they love your family, nothing against your family, but they don't want to see your 6th generation grandfather coming back from Vietnam. You know, they're not going to want to see this big portrait of you and your wife riding a bull charging into town. They're not going to want to see that. No buyers are going to really care about, no offense, about you per se. A lot of those things that the professional staging company does, they're going to be the ones to consult you. They're going to be the ones to stage your home properly. Like I said, they're a little bit more money. It could cost right around $2,000 to $3,000 depending on the size of your home, but they're definitely worth it, especially if your home is of a higher value. So if your home's right around a $300,000 home and you have like a smaller home, it might not be all that beneficial to get a staging company to come in. But what you can do is, like I said, you can get that consultation and you can call them up and just see if they have recommendations, if you could pay them to come over and take a look at the property to see if they can give you some value as to what should go where, see if you can reorganize the room, or just do like little things here and there, what should be there and what shouldn't be there. So that's the staging company. Once the staging is all said and done, you're going to call the photographer and videographer. They're going to come in, they're going to take pictures, and you really want that drone footage as well. I know a lot of people are kind of like, you know, they don't need it, they don't really want it. But let me tell you, it does a lot to a buyer when they see that aerial footage of the roof. It really means a lot, especially if they can see kind of, you know, what the neighborhood looks like, how close your property is to all those other houses in the area. And it definitely gives the buyer like a little bit of feel for what's going on around in the area or the community. So that's going to be something else that you're going to want too. That in my area, it's right around $200 to $250 for both the photographer to come in and the videographer. So sometimes you get like a little bit of a package discount, but right around $250 is what they cost. Step 3, once you have your photos, once you have your videos, the next step is going to be make a little bit of a write-out of what you love about your property. So now this can include any improvements that you've done to the property, what you love about the property's location, what you love about the property's community, everything just kind of, you know, you love how the trees in the summertime blossom, you love the little plant in your backyard, any little thing. If you have a little garden, you want to talk about your garden and you love the garden, then, you know, have at it. This right here, this little description, where that is going to go in step 4 while marketing your property, it's going to go in the description. So all the marketing material, you're going to need that little description there when you put it on those websites. So now step 3 was doing the write-up. Now step 4 is going to be put your property on the websites and marketing accordingly. So how you're going to put it on all these websites, very, very simple. You're going to go to forsalebuyowner.com, fsbo.com, or there's a few different other websites that you can go to as well. I don't know all of them, so don't ask me. But if you go to that website, it's going to pull up your local MLS. So if you are in Massachusetts, in Western Massachusetts, it's going to pull up the MLS pin. If you are in Rhode Island, they have the Rhode Island Matrix MLS. Different areas have your different MLSs. I know that there's a few of them, so don't ask me which one is yours. You can simply just look it up on those particular websites. And once you go onto those websites, you look it up, they have what's called a flat MLS fee. And the reason why you're doing this flat MLS fee is because you're going to attract a lot of buyer's agents by putting it on there, number one. But also number two, when you put it on there, that MLS will then take your property and your property description, your little write-up, whatever, and it's going to blast it out to all of those MLS associated websites like Zillow, like Trulia, like Realtor.com, like Redfin. And usually, like I said, it's just a flat fee. It might be a 6-month subscription, whatever. You put it on there, it might be $500 or so. But it is very, very crucial to getting your property as many viewers as possible. Most buyers, most qualified buyers are going to have buyer's agents working for them or working with them. So with that being said, if you didn't market your property towards buyer's agents, then you are losing out on a hell of a lot of buyers. Most buyers these days are using those buyer's agents because of the fact that the seller normally pays the buyer's commission. Here's the part that might kind of suck a little bit. You will have to pay a percentage or some sort of commission to those buyer's agents if they bring you in a buyer. But with that being said, you did save a hell of a lot of money not listing your property with an agent. Now, in my area, the average commission for a buyer's agent is anywhere from 2 to 3%. I'm going to strongly encourage you, when you put it on your MLS, to put it so that way your buyer's agent gets 3% or as much as possible. And the reason why I do that, it's more enticing for those buyer's agents to come and take a look at your property and show your buyers or show those buyers your property. Now, if you're not working with these buyer's agents to get those buyer clients into your property and those people aren't seeing your property, the only people that are actually going to see your property are the people that are sitting there stuck on the computer. They're not going out to take a look at properties with other realtors, and they don't have those realtors working for them. Instead of saving that additional 3% commission, your best bet is most likely to pay that 3% commission because you already saved the 3% on the listing side. So now that's probably going to get you the most exposure. That's probably going to be the best bang for your buck that you're going to pay for when selling your property and marketing your property effectively is going to be those two things: using your buyer's agents to your advantage and marketing it on your local MLS. So those two things there combined are going to get a whole lot of traffic, especially in today's market, to your property. If you wanted to do some additional things, these are some things that I like to do as a realtor. I like to make a Facebook post and then post it to a whole bunch of groups on my Facebook that are linked to that area. So for instance, here in Rhode Island, we have like the Newport County area, Providence area. So what I would do if I had a property that I was selling in the Newport County area, for instance, I would go to Newport County Real Estate Facebook group and I would post that property in there. And then I go to Newport County Tag Sales and I post the property in there. And I go to Providence Tag Sales and I post the property in there because I don't care. I'm still posting it everywhere and anywhere that I possibly can. In addition to that, on Facebook and Instagram, you have that feature that you can boost your post. So what I do is I pay a little bit extra money. I pay anywhere from $50 to $100 on one given week. And then that way you can get a little bit more exposure for your listing, for your post, your Facebook post. And then that way people are seeing it again. So I'm going to strongly encourage you to do that as well. And then the other thing that I do to kind of help is I make a Craigslist ad as well. It's free to make a Craigslist ad. And then once you put it on Craigslist, you just got to make sure that you put your phone number, an accurate phone number in there, and you're checking it. So that way people are like looking at it The longer your property sits on the market, the lower it's going to go, and the less amount of people are going to be able to see it on Craigslist. So you got to remember every couple of weeks or so to repost it, so that way it gets all the way to the top of those postings or of those listings. But other than that, those are some great marketing tips too. Another way to market your property, and another thing that I like doing personally, is I make flyers. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking that why make flyers? Most people, they see their home online and they like to purchase homes online, and everything is virtual nowadays anyways. But for me being a realtor, I get a little bit more publicity too when they see my name and my information on that flyer. So I like to spend a little bit extra money to put flyers out all over that given neighborhood and all over that community as well. So I'll usually spend another couple $100 when marketing the property before it goes on market, and then another couple $100 when it's sold. So that way I get a little bit more extra exposure in that given neighborhood as well. So now the last little tidbit, the last little thing I'm going to recommend to you as far as marketing goes is I'm going to recommend to call up all the brokerages and all the agencies in the area and just tell them about your property. Say, hey, listen, you bring me a buyer, I'll pay you 3% commission, and you watch. There's going to be a lot of people that are interested in your property just from you doing that. They're going to be a little bit more inclined. It's going to be kind of like a top of mind type of thing. If you tell them that you're for sale by owner and you're paying a 3% buyer's commission to anybody that brings you a buyer, then you're going to get a little bit of help coming out of those agencies and out of those brokerages. Now, this right here, it makes things a little bit easier for us as a realtor, because we have something called reverse prospecting, where what we can do is we can put our property's data into the MLS, and it's going to enable us to search on that MLS and find a bunch of realtors that have buyers with that same criteria. You don't have that same access because of the fact that you're not a real estate agent. So you're not really going to be able to do something like that. But for us, all it takes is a click of a button, and then all of those agents are going to get notifications of your property coming on listing. So you being that you don't have access like that to the MLS, you can still, like I said, you can still look up on Google and call those agencies and be kind of top of mind that way. But it's not as easy versus just clicking the button and then emailing all of the agents that have buyers with that particular information. Hopefully you now have a whole bunch of offers in your hands. You have a whole bunch of buyers come through your property, and you have a whole bunch of people that are excited and that want to call your property their home. So now the next step would be to either A, you're going to accept them, B, you're going to counter on one of them, or C, you're just going to leave it on the market in hopes that you get more offers coming through. So you have a couple different options of what you can do now. But now when looking at these offers, there are going to be a few different things that you're going to want to look at. Number one is going to be the purchase price. No surprise there. You want as much money for your property as possible. But you also got to look at the financing. Because if you have, say, an offer for $315,000, but you have an offer for $310,000 all cash, I'm going to recommend you going with that $310,000 offer, especially because it's cash, because there's less things that can go wrong. Not always, but there's one less thing that can go wrong, I should say. There you go. So you're going to look at the type of financing. Are they putting, say, 3% down or 3.5% down in order to purchase this property, instead of someone putting 20% down? Someone that puts 20% down is going to look a lot stronger of an offer versus someone that is only putting 3.5% down, because it means that ultimately there's only putting 3.5% down usually for a reason. Usually they can't afford to put an additional amount down. Sometimes that could be a red flag comparing to the person that could put 20% down. They put themselves in potentially a little bit better of a situation. So the types of financing that you're going to look at, you're going to look at the dates. So the dates for inspections, does that match up with the dates that you want to move out of the property? Do you want to get out of the property as soon as possible, or do you want to have, 60 days, 90 days to go pick out a new home and you can look at a new home and shop windows and stuff. Those are things and conditions that you're going to want to talk to those buyer's agents about, especially if somebody's bringing it in a full cash offer, over asking exactly what you want. That's your highest offer. Now you're going to want to go back to that buyer's agent and say, hey, listen, can we agree to some sort of terms? So that is another round of negotiating that you are going to have to put up with. So yeah, the inspection date, the mortgage contingency date, if there's a mortgage, the financing date, the closing date, all these different things you're going to want to look at on that offer to purchase, or some states, they do just the purchase and sale. There are all things that you need to look at and you need to understand. Don't be afraid to call those realtors up and just try to go over that offer to purchase or purchase and sale with those realtors. Just say, hey, listen, I got your purchase and sale contract in my hand. Can you go over it with me just so that way I'm understanding it correctly? And then that way you have a little bit of satisfaction that you know what you're reading. And if you don't trust the buyer's agent, then you can always go to your attorney, which is obviously going to, charge you a little bit more. So it's, you gotta take and give sometimes. Once you pass that round right there, the next step is going to be the financing aspect or the appraisal. So now in the appraisal, if you had already done an appraisal at the beginning, then you're not going to really have too much to worry about, because you're going to know what your property is worth and what it's valued at. But the bank that is going to be giving your buyer a loan is going to want to do their own appraisal as well. When that appraisal comes, what you're going to do and what you're going to want to do is you are going to back up the value of your property by giving them all the research that you've done on your property yourself. So if you had seen all the comps in the area and it supports your property's value, you are going to want to give that to the appraiser. And then also, if you had gotten the appraisal done at the very beginning stages of this selling your property, you're going to want to give them that appraisal as well. Now, there is no saying of whether or not the appraiser is going to accept that value, but the more that you can back up that value with cold, hard facts, with those comps in the area, and with that appraisal, the better off you'll be. If the appraisal came back good, meaning that the appraised value is higher than or at the purchase price that we're at right now, then everything is good. You don't have to worry about anything. There's no more negotiating. You guys are good to go. You guys are good to close. The next step is to bring that to the title company and go to the closing table. Those are the next and last steps. So you're good there. If for whatever reason that appraisal came in under the purchase price, then that's another room for negotiating, right? So it depends on what the seller and buyer want to do at that point. If the buyer can't afford that purchase price, then it's up to the seller to either A, come down to meet him at that particular price that he can afford, or he backs out of the deal and then throws the property back on market, or he can accept another offer. If for whatever reason he can go up and he wants to go up, then awesome. You just saved yourself a little bit extra cash, and the buyer came up a little bit for you to meet you halfway, and hopefully you're good. So that's it. Now you guys are even. You guys are going to the closing table. Congratulations. You're at the last steps to close on your home and sell your home. You did it.